going on, everyone? It's Bales, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Captains video ahead of round 18. Have a look at this week. A lot of good options. Plenty of good options that could put up some ceiling scores, which makes for another sort of fascinating week of fantasy, obviously, with all the carnage going on. With a lot of good captains that could sort of separate you from having a good or a bad week. Obviously, we're waiting to hear back from the tribunal. Obviously, I'm pretty sure that's or the appeal of the tribunal's decision will be tonight for Heaney. So we're going to know. I anticipate Sydney will still name Heaney in the side. I think that happened last time something like this happened. They named him in the side before they appealed the suspension. So fingers crossed for everyone out there that we get Heaney this week. I actually think he might get off, to be fair. I reckon he might. Sydney wouldn't be taken to the tribunal if they weren't, or the AFL if they weren't confident they'd get overturned. So yeah, I think they'll be able to get it overturned. And to be honest, I mentioned this as well. I'm not going to go into in depth, but I mentioned on the Hat Chat Live last night that I thought that the Toby Green one, where he got a fine, was actually more intentional and worse than what the Isaac Heaney one was, because the Heaney one I thought looked a bit more careless, whereas the intentional act of Toby Green with the punch to the gut on Brody Kemp. But hey, I'm glad Toby Green's not suspended because I own Green and not many people own Green. So yeah. But anyway, let me know your thoughts. Actually, let me know your thoughts in the comments. What you think of the Heaney suspension? Do you think that he should get overturned? Obviously, a lot of you will probably watch this by the time we know. But for the people that watched before, yeah, put in the comments. Let me know if you guys think he should be suspended for that week or not. Hopefully he's not. But yeah, so let's get stuck into the top 5 captains of the week, and then we'll go through a few other good options. But as always, before we do, and you are enjoying the content around here, make sure you do smash a big thumbs up on the video. You guys have smashed the likes on the Trade Talk video from yesterday. There's plenty of likes on it already, and hopefully they can continue to rise. So yeah, if this can smash out as well and get over 100, that'd be fantastic. So make sure you do smash that like on the video and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We just passed 2550, so now we're on track, close to 2600. So if you guys haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. And we need 2600, then 3K is the big goal. So let's get stuck in. So my number one captain option of the week is going to be Josh Dunkley. I don't normally like putting the sort of, I guess, the number one player on form, because there's always going to be a point where they're not just going to continue to be just the number one player for week on week on week. Josh Dunkley has obviously had an amazing 3 weeks, 118, 158 and 140. So going absolutely bananas over the last 3 weeks. Scott West Coast this week. He's played him 7 times for an average of 106.9 in his career. I guess the one slight flag is the fact that obviously West Coast changing coaches. Does that mean that West Coast, normally teams get up and about when there's a changing coach or something like that? So that's sort of my only sort of slight concern. But hey, Dunkley's not the guy getting tagged. Optus, wide open spaces. He's been getting those marks of late as well. Gets obviously plenty of tackles each week. And yeah, I think you'll find plenty of the ball. So I still don't have much concerns with Dunkley. He plays the last game of the round. Very, very good captain to be going into in that last game. So yeah, for me, he is a very good option. At number 2, I tossed and turned between who I had 2 and 3, right? So I'm going to go Lachie Whitfield at 3 and Errol Goulden. Sorry, Lachie Whitfield at 2 and Errol Goulden at 3. And the reason I've gone Whitfield at 2 is because of the Richmond matchup, right? Richmond matchup is very, very fruitful of late for plenty of players. There are players essentially each week going big. So last week for Freo, Brayshaw went 146, even a Tracy 109, Young 105, Jackson 104, and Luke Ryan 101. And then also Clark 98 and Wag 93. So a few good scores there. And then even the week before against Carlton, we spoke about this last week, but Newman 143, Walsh 132, Cripps 129, Kennedy 100, Akers 99, even Sard 96. So some good scores against Richmond in the last 2 weeks since the bye. I think it will continue. And Whitfield's that guy that loves getting into space, getting those short +6s and getting just sort of cheap ball back there, and also takes plenty of kick-ins. So for me, I think I've just got him ahead of Goulden, because North Melbourne have been a bit trickier over the last few weeks to score against. But Whitfield, last few games against Richmond in his career haven't been great, but obviously he did against Richmond score that 180 or whatever, 190 back from injury a few years ago. So he's averaging 102.8 in his 12 games. And it is at the MCG, so it sort of does suit Whitfield there on the big wide open spaces there. And then, yeah, 3 is Errol Goulden for me. I do think, even though North have been a bit trickier, Sydney coming off back-to-back losses. They're going to want to respond at home. North have been good, but a young team like this, I wouldn't be shocked if Sydney sort of got out to a sizable lead fairly early on. It sort of just seems to me, especially if Heaney got off suspension as well. Mills is back, the captain. So, yeah, I could see it being a big score. And Goulden won't get any attention. Phillips will probably go to a Chad Warner or something like that. So for me, I think Goulden will be left alone on that wing, and I think he'll be able to rack up out there on the SCG. So for me, I think he is a good option as well. Hasn't been good the last 2 weeks, but you sort of feel again he's due to put up another big score at some point. Scores the SCG this year as well. Got the 6-9 opening round against Melbourne in that very odd game, but then he got a 117 against the Bombers. Got 100 against Gold Coast, 98 against Giants, 116 against Carlton, 151 against Geelong, and 82 against Freo. So, to be honest, he's been a little bit down in the SCG, but that 151 against Geelong, hopefully he can do something similar to that. I've got Goulden as my number 3. Number 4, I'm attacking that Richmond matchup again, and I'm going Tom Green. If this is ever going to be a game where Tom Green's going to put up a ceiling score, it's going to be this one. Obviously, started like house on fire, had that quiet patch from rounds 4 to rounds 14, but his last 3 of 127, 106, 107. The Crows and Carlton have been the lower scores, but Crows and especially they lost that game, and then Carlton obviously tough matchup there. But Richmond, I do expect Tom Green to feast. Jack Graham's not going to go with a guy like Tom Green. He'll probably go with a guy like a Cogs if he's going to go with anyone. But yeah, I just expect Tom Green to rack it up against Richmond at the MCG, and I've got him as my number 4. And number 5, I had a few options I was considering here. I'm putting Zach Merritt though. I think I've got to. The fact that he's got such a good history against Melbourne in his career. So average of 114.1 in his 9 games against them. So he hasn't played them for a bit, but he played them last year once. Didn't play them in 2022, but then I think 2021 he had like a 150. So yeah. And looked good last week, 120. Just didn't finish it off with the last 10 minutes. I don't think he got any points in the last 10 minutes. That could have been a 130, 140. Hasn't put up many ceiling scores this year. His high scores 135 against Port in round 4. Got a few 120s there, but that was his only score over 130. So that's the only reason I've got him down a tiny bit further, because it seems like he's playing a bit more selfless this year. He's not sort of picking it out and getting these massive scores. So that's my only sort of slight knock that. Can he get that ceiling score? I think he can. I think at some point he will go big. But I've just got like a Tom Green, Whitfield with the Richmond matchup ahead of him. Goulden, who has hit that ceiling a few times this year, and Dunkley, who's done it 2 of the past 3 weeks. So that's my top 5. Some other names I do like this week. So Nick Dacos against Geelong, a good matchup. I think he'd go quite well. I just expect, though, Geelong are that team that when they see a goal at Nick Dacos, they're going to put time into him. So whether that's a Tom Atkins, I don't know if he can go with a Dacos, but whether that's an Ocean Mullen who went with Sam Walsh, and Marco, I don't know if Marco Connor will be there, but or if he was in the team, but maybe does he go with him, a Blitzarv, something like that. So just very interesting. They did not play. Haven't played this year, which is interesting. Normally they play twice a year, but this year only haven't played at all. He's played them twice. Nick Dacos from average of 101.5, so not too bad. Obviously, short career so far for Dacos, but he's killing it so far. So for me, Dacos could be a VC shout. I just worry that he will get attention there. I do like Sam Walsh against the Bulldogs with no tag really going there. I don't think we saw what Rosie and Butters did last week to the Bulldogs. Surely Bulldogs don't give up that many points again, but Walsh I think could go quite well, and he's a good option. The Bont has been decent against Carlton in his last few games, but I do see someone going to him. Whether they do a Cripps v Bont head to head, that'd be good for obviously everyone. So hopefully they do something like that. The two sort of guys in the contention for the Brownlow, hopefully go head to head. But Hewitt could come back in this week and tag him. I'm not sure. So just one to watch for Bont. If Hewitt's named, I'd be a bit more concerned. But if he's not, could be a VC option there on the Saturday twilight game. Lockie Neal against West Coast is a solid option as well. I do expect a Jinby to go to him at stoppages and try and go with him like he did with Zach Merritt. So I wouldn't be looking at him this week. Harry Shears against Sydney could cop the James Jordan tag. I wouldn't be looking at him. He's only put up that one big score over 120, which was last week since moving to this mid-forward role. So just a bit nervous that about the ceiling scores hitting that sort of continuously, but still, obviously, he's still a very, very good option if you're looking to bring a Sheasel in. Sydney, tough matchup, though. John Dawson is the interesting one. So, he's obviously been very poor the last few weeks. Last five, 60, 124, 84, 106, and 57. Funny enough, the 200s in his last five have been at Adelaide Oval. Obviously, the 84 at Adelaide Oval was against Sydney, and that was with the Jordan tag. But that's actually his only score at Adelaide Oval this season, under 100. And he's hit some of his ceiling scores at Adelaide Oval this year. So 131 against Geelong, 112 against Melbourne, then 155 against the Bombers, 100 against Port, 118 against Brisbane, 123 against West Coast, 124 against Richmond, then obviously the 84 against Sydney, and the 106 against the Giants. So, funny enough, the lowest three scores that have been under 110 come against Sydney with a tag, GWS, who are tough to score against, and Port, who are tough to score against. Every other game where it's been a good matchup, he's gone big. I think with ranking out, he's going to be more relied upon to be in the CBAs because you've obviously you have Laird, you have Berry and Saligo, but they're not, all three of those aren't going to be running through the whole game. Windhager's not there. I just have a feeling Dawson could put up a ceiling score. And we've seen a few times this year where Dawson's gone low, he's gone big the next week. And I did say this with Gawn, so I know that it sort of doesn't always translate. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to read your stats. So you got an 89 against Gold Coast in round one, followed up with a 131 against Geelong at home. Scored a 60 against Carlton at Marvel, followed that up with a 155 against the Bombers. Then he scored a 60 against Hawthorn, followed that up with a 124 against Richmond, scored the 84 against Sydney, and then followed up with a 106 against Giants. So 57 last week, no tag. He's going to know he didn't play very well. So I've got a feeling that he could have a good game. So, yeah, Dawson for me, I don't mind as a VC shout because a lot of us are going to have a West Coast ruckman right to take the loot with. So, Saturday night, I don't mind as a differential. Zorko against West Coast, solid option against at over there at Optus. Sort of, I know DC put it on the agenda last night. I wouldn't be shocked if they just said they're not flying him over because they've got Sydney next week. He's not going to be missing there. I do think, though, Brisbane have to win these games. Like, they can't afford to be dropping. So I think he'll play. He hasn't hit a ceiling score over 130 since round 10, and his only score over 120 was in round 14 against St Kilda. It's been solid, but hasn't been as big away from home. And I don't know if he's going to put up a ceiling score. I think Dunkley's a better option in that game, so I probably wouldn't look at him. Don't mind Nank in a good matchup against GWS there as a potential, well, it'd be a captain. So it'd be a bit risky, but a bit of a pot option. Could put up a ceiling score. Giants have been a good matchup for Ruck so far this season. Cripps against the Dogs, I don't think I'll be looking at him as a captain personally. De Koning, obviously, he's obviously a test this week. Could be a VC if you did have him. Could put up a ceiling score, but I probably wouldn't worry about it. Tom Stewart could be solid enough on the Friday night. 125 last week against Hawthorn. Back-to-back tons since moving into the midfield. I expect that to continue. So could be a good option on the Friday night if you want to go a bit unique. Tim English against Carlton. Good option there as well. Good matchup for English, so you could probably a good score there. Marshall against the Crows. O'Brien can be restrictive at times, so I probably wouldn't look at Marshall. But VC's got the ceiling. If Campbell's not named, I don't expect him to be because they won last week without him. So, but just could be an option there. Butters and Rosie, Gold Coast have been a bit easier last few weeks, but I'm probably not looking personally at them just because it's up at people first. If it was at Adelaide Oval, I'd be a little bit more keen potentially on a VC, but being on a Sunday, you're probably going to be looking at going captain for one of them. I probably wouldn't worry about it. Jai Caldwell, good option. If we hear about Merritt being tagged potentially by Neil Bullen, I like Jai Caldwell as a bit of a sort of switch over if you're looking at those two. If Heaney does escape suspension, I don't mind him as a VC. He'll probably be able to point to prove not point to prove, but he'll sort of be up and about for playing against North. He could put up a good score, but obviously we've got to see. Sarong, I wouldn't worry about obviously at the moment, but good match against Hawthorn. Andrew Brayshaw is one. If you want to go unique as well for a VC, Andrew Brayshaw is definitely one that you can look at because obviously we know he's got the ceiling. But his recent scores against Hawthorn are ridiculous. So last year, he played them twice, scored a 134 against them at the MCG, and then early in the year, he scored a 157, and that was the start of his run in round 8, where he obviously got on a bit of a run. Then in 2022, he scored 141, and then 2021, he scored 114. So he's been very good in his last four against them. 2021, the other game he played, he only scored the 54, which is interesting. But he's been really good in his last 4. So, yeah, for me, could be a really good VC shout. Plays early Saturday. So you can definitely VC that. So someone to potentially consider if you've got him. Holmes against Collingwood, solid, but he's not really a ceiling passer. I wouldn't worry about it. Luke Ryan could be a good option as well. There against Hawthorn. He's obviously got the ceiling there. Anderson, I wouldn't worry about against Port. Cherry, I wouldn't worry about. Tough matchup against Grundy there. Treloar could be sneaky there. Treloar as someone to consider. But yeah, a few other options here, but you're probably sort of looking at very, very different players there. So for me, they're my top 5. If I had to do a bottom 5, sort of 6 through 10, I think I'd actually go Dawson at number 6. I like the matchup. No Winhager. I do expect a response. So I've got Dawson at 6. I would have probably a Sam Walsh at 7. Actually, no, sorry. I'll go Andrew Brayshaw. Andrew Brayshaw 7. With that good history against Hawthorn, I expect to go well. Walsh, I'll have at 8. I'll go Dacos at number 9. And then at number 10, I'll probably put Tim English there. And Caldwell could easily sneak in there as well. A lot of good options this week. Plenty of good options. So it's a tough one for top 10, but that'd be my top 10 there with the top 5 on the screen. So my early captain, vice-captain plans this week is going to be, I think at this stage I'm going Errol Goulden vice-captain. It's a bit tricky to go Whitfield into Dunkley because Whitfield obviously plays the second to last game. Dunkley plays the last game. So I'm only going to be able to look at about 2 quarters worth of footy, maybe not even, for Whitfield, which I don't like. I'd prefer to watch 4 quarters with someone to see. So for me, I'm going to be going Goulden into Dunkley. I am strongly considering, I know that this is my list, and I should be probably following my own list, really. I am very tempted by the Dawson VC in a position that I'm in, trying to gain some points to try and sneak back into the top 500. So I'd maybe going a Dawson as a unique as a VC could be something that I could look at. I do think Goulden, though, is probably a bit too good to pass up at home. And I'll just hope that, as Dawson is a little bit of a differential, right? So I'll just hope that he goes well anyway, because he hasn't been amazing. So yeah, for me, I'm going Goulden into Dunkley at this stage. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, guys, who you guys are going with your vice-captain and captain in round 18. If you've got any captain or vice-captain questions, or any other questions for that matter, put them in the comments and I'll get to those when I can. If you also like to ask me a question on Q, then head to askmeonq, spelt QU.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics to ask your captain or vice-captain questions there. Or you can even ask your trade-specific questions, draft questions, or even screenshot your whole team or type your team and send it through, and I can answer. If you're sort of struggling what you want to do, send that through and I can answer that. Small fee for that one, but it does help support the channel very much, and that'd be very much appreciated if you do it. But also gives you an in-depth response in an audio format straight to email, and you can listen back to it as many times as you want. And hopefully the advice helps you with your trade. So if you'd like to hit that up, link is at the very top of the description, so you can't miss it. So, but yeah, beautiful. All right, make sure you smash a big thumbs up on the video. 100 likes is the goal, so if you smash a like, that'd be fantastic. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And we'll be back tomorrow for the pre-lockout chat, as always, at 6 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Perth time, as we are looking forward to round 18. Hopefully, there's no more carnage in teams later on tonight, and then hopefully we get... hopefully Heaney can escape suspension, but we'll know that by obviously the Friday pre-lockout chat anyway. And I'll be doing a watch-along as well for the Collingwood and Geelong game as well on the Friday. No watch-along Saturday, though, because I'll be going to the Crows game. So, yeah, make sure you guys join me for the Friday night watch-along. So, thanks, guys, for tuning in. Also, make sure you check out, I did like a little short video as well, a bit of maybe a funny, well, I thought it was quite funny. Mine video, I think it's quite funny. There you go. But yeah, if you want to check it, it's like 17 seconds. Sort of using the Damien Hardwick thing with my fantasy team from last week. So if you want to check that out, is in the shorts on the YouTube channel. So make sure you check it out. And if you did find it funny, then make sure you smash a like as well on that one. So yeah, beautiful. Thanks, guys, for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys in the pre-lockout chat tomorrow. So thanks, guys. I'm out. Cheers.